Romania and Bulgaria are in the EU, but not in Schengen. Their citizens have all the rights of EU citizens. They can vote in EU elections and they can live wherever they want in the European Union. But at the borders there are border controls. When they want to leave their country, they will have to go through a check. If tourists come into their country, there will be checks as well. This is quite unusual for the European Union because most border controls have been abolished between countries. I traveled to Romania and Bulgaria more than once, and there's one time when I went by night train, the train stopped in the middle of the night and two uniformed officers came into the cabin shouting "Pass control!" and you had to show them the pass. They went out for the check, came back in again, gave the pass back, and you could try to sleep again. Another time I went by bus from Bucharest to Athens, and every time we crossed the border, the bus stopped, we had to wait in line, then get out of the vehicle, go to the pass control, go back in the vehicle and drive on. And it's not only a hassle for tourists. Truck drivers have to wait in line at the borders, and when it's cold, they leave the engine running, wasting fuel and emitting CO2. So the border controls hurt the economy and the environment. Everywhere else in the EU, border controls are usually abolished. There are many exemptions now since so many migrants come into Europe and nations building up borders again, but usually there are no border controls. Why is this different for Romania and Bulgaria? It's because the Austrian government says no, even though all other EU governments say yes. How can this be? How can a small country that only represents 2% of the European population and whose government parties not even represent the whole population block two EU countries from joining Schengen? To understand this, we have to go back in time, exactly to 1985. This is the year the Schengen Agreement was signed. Back then there was no European Union, just the European communities, and it counted only 10 members. And there were still border controls between all of them. Traveling from Germany to France always meant to pack your passport. For many younger Europeans, and even for me, this sounds weird, but that was the case. In 1985, the European unification process just started around 30 years ago. And before that, Europeans were killing each other in horrific wars. Nevertheless, 5 out of the 10 governments in the European communities decided to take the next step in the European unification process. And so in 1985, Germany, France and the Benelux countries Belgium, Luxembourg and Netherlands signed the Schengen Agreement. Its intention to abolish border controls between all countries participating. It took 10 years until 1995 to make this finally happen. In the meantime, more countries joined the Schengen Agreement and more agreements were made. And the European Union was founded in its first form. And only 3 years later, in 1998, all the Schengen agreements were made EU law by signing the Amsterdam Treaty. However, Ireland and UK opted out, as it's quite often actually with these countries. But if you paid attention now, you may wonder, if Schengen is EU law and Bulgaria and Romania are EU members, why are they not in Schengen? Well, now it gets tricky, but bear with me. When new countries join the European Union, they sign so-called accession treaties. And these accession treaties specify the terms under which a country may join. And after Schengen was made EU law, these treaties contained an Article 4. And in this Article 4 it says that new member states can only become Schengen members when the European Council unanimously agrees. And in the European Council are all the leaders of all EU member states, and thus the Austrian Chancellor. And he says nein. The EU Commission, basically the executive of the EU, can only provide fact-finding missions, which, by the way, found out in 2011 that Romania and Bulgaria may join Schengen. And the EU Parliament can only consult the European Council. And it doesn't matter that around 3/4 of all their members actually voted in favor of Romania and Bulgaria joining Schengen. So even though Schengen is made EU law, the decision to join it is in the accession treaties in an outer layer. And usually the European Council and the European Parliament decide together on many choices. But this is not the case with Schengen, which I, by the way, think shouldn't be the way. But Romania and Bulgaria signed the accession agreement and they have to wait for an Austrian ja. And it seems like there will be a yes in the future, because Romania and Bulgaria are actually allowed to join Schengen when people move in or out via ship or via plane. The trucks still have to wait at the borders, but maybe this will change in the future as well. However, new countries that may join the European Union in the future should take a close look at Article 4 in their accession treaties and see if they can amend the process, so that their accession to Schengen doesn't hinge on one minority government, but depends on the opinion of the majority. If you liked this video, give a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you want to support this channel, go to my timeline shop. There's some free stuff as well. See ya!